welcome to the deep dive. You've given us this collection of sources, basically a snapshot of crypto news from CoinMarketCap for June 10th, 2025. And we're going to dive right in, pull out the key insights for you.
That's the plan. There's always so much noise, right?
Yeah.
Our mission here is just to help you cut through that, understand the different kinds of news popping up on that day, based purely on these sources you shared, what actually matters.
Okay, let's get started. First thing that jumps out, this funding news, Turnkey. It says here they secured $30 million.
$30 million, yeah.
Specifically for crypto wallet infrastructure. Now, $30 million is a decent chunk of change, but why wallets? What's the significance there?
That's a really good starting point, actually, because it's about the foundations. When you see that kind of money, $30 million, going into infrastructure, things like wallets, it tells you something important. It means the focus isn't just on, trading the latest hot token. Wallets are fundamental. They're how people actually use crypto securely.
Right, like storing it, sending it.
Exactly. Connecting to apps. It's like investing in the roads before everyone buys a car. So this funding, highlighted in the source, it suggests a push towards making crypto more usable, more stable for the long haul, building for adoption.
Got it. Building the plumbing. Okay. Now, switching gears, this next one is, well, it's kind of wild. Bonk.
Ah, Bonk. Yes.
The source talks about its price prediction, notes it's facing headwinds, down 28% over the month. That's a big dip.
Yeah, significant.
But then the same source mentions these potentially huge returns, like 69% APY, and even a figure of 319%. How do those two things live in the same sentence? A big drop and a 300+% return figure.
Well, that contrast is kind of the story with meme coins, isn't it? And the source lays it right out. The 28% dip, that's the risk, plain and simple. Prices can just plummet. But those APY figures, the 69%, the 319%, that's the potential reward side. It's likely, though the source just gives the numbers, that this comes from things like staking or maybe some yield farming protocol mentioned in the original piece. You lock up your bonk, support the network, and potentially earn these high yields.
Ah, okay. So it's not guaranteed profit. It's yield from doing something with the coin.
Precisely. But you're earning yield on an asset that, as the dip shows, is super unstable. High risk, high reward, right there in the source material.
Right. Okay, that makes more sense. So we've got infrastructure building, we've got this crazy volatility. Let's zoom out. Market trends. There's an analyst mentioned, Michael Van de Poppe, predicting an upcoming altcoin season. What's the thinking there, according to the source? What signals?
Yeah, the source connects it to typical market cycle analysis. The main signal mentioned is Bitcoin dominance possibly reaching a peak.
Bitcoin dominance. That's Bitcoin's share of the total crypto market cap.
Exactly. And historically, sometimes when Bitcoin dominance peaks, you see money start to flow out of Bitcoin and into altcoins.
Looking for bigger gains elsewhere?
Potentially, yeah. That rotation can lead to a period where altcoins, the alternatives, really outperform Bitcoin. That's what people call altcoin season. So the source suggests this analyst sees those classic signs lining up.
Interesting. And speaking of things influencing the market.
Yeah.
Another source brings in traditional finance, a big player, the Bank of Japan. What's their move got to do with crypto, according to this source?
This is fascinating how interconnected it all is. The source says the Bank of Japan decided not to reduce its balance sheet yet, basically, delaying monetary tightening.
Okay.
And there's even talk of maybe bringing back some selective quantitative easing, QE.
QE. Printing money, essentially, or injecting liquidity.
Yeah, injecting liquidity into the economy, often by buying assets. The source notes the expected result of these kinds of moves is often a boost for risky asset values, globally.
So the idea is easy money in traditional finance looks for yield.
And some of that might flow into perceived higher risk, higher return areas, including crypto. So a major central bank decision in Japan, as the source points out, can directly influence sentiment and expectations over in the crypto world.
Wow. Okay, so with all that backdrop, the cycles, the macro influence, what about new stuff, new opportunities? The sources mentioned top pre-sale cryptos for 2025.
Yeah.
What are we seeing at that really early stage?
Right, pre-sales. This is before tokens hit the main exchanges, very early days. The sources highlight one called BlockDAG pretty prominently. It says it raised a huge amount, $291 million in its pre-sale.
$291 million. That's substantial for pre-sale.
It really is. Shows significant early interest, according to that source. The articles also mention a couple of others, dogs and Snorter, notes they have strong communities, viral potential, again, according to the specific sources.
So a pipeline of new projects.
Exactly. It shows that innovation and new bets are still happening alongside everything else. Different risk profile entirely, of course, than buying established coins.
Gotcha. And speaking of specific coins, there are also just some quick updates on tokens like Tron and BlockDAG again.
Yeah, just the usual daily churn. One source points to Tron signaling a 14% decline, typical price movement stuff.
Wow.
And another article brings up BlockDAG again, reinforcing that $291 million presale number. But that source also apparently teases a potential NBA deal for BlockDAG.
An NBA deal. Okay, so a mix of price action and rumors.
Pretty much. That's the daily news flow for individual tokens, concrete numbers, and potential future developments all mixed together.
Okay, one last area highlighted here. It looks like traditional finance trying to get more involved again. ETFs.
Yes, this is a really important ongoing trend. The source mentions Canary Capital. They apparently set up a trust in Delaware for something called a Canary Staked INJ ETF.
Staked INJ ETF, so not just holding the token.
Exactly. The source describes it as a first step towards an ETF that would give investors exposure specifically to the staking rewards of the Injective token, INJ.
So earning yield from crypto, but packaged in a traditional finance product.
That's the idea. Staking lets you earn rewards for helping secure the network, offering that capability through an ETF, a structure familiar to traditional investors. Well, the source flags it as a notable step. It opens up access to crypto yield generation via a regulated route, different from just buying and holding.
Wow, okay. So just looking back at what these sources from one single day, June 10th, showed us, we had millions going into basic infrastructure like wallets. The absolute roller coaster of a meme coin like Bonk, with big dips and claims of massive yield.
Right.
Market analysts predicting an altcoin season based on cycles.
Yep.
The Bank of Japan's decisions potentially impacting crypto sentiment.
Huge external factor.
Tracking brand new projects raising hundreds of millions in pre-sales.
Like BlockDAG.
Daily price swings and rumors for individual tokens. And then traditional finance creating complex products like a staked ETF.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It covers so much ground.
It really does. And what this collection of sources drives home, I think, is just how diverse and interconnected everything in the crypto space is. You've got tech development, pure market speculation, global economics, individual project news, regulatory wrappers. It all feeds into the bigger picture. Understanding that variety is really key if you want to stay informed.
So thinking about this whole mix we just discussed, from that deep infrastructure funding for Turnkey to the Bonk volatility, the macro ripples from Japan, the new pre-sales, the potential staked ETF. What does this specific snapshot from Juneteenth tell you, the listener, about where the crypto market is right now? Based just on these sources, what threads here seem most important for understanding the direction things might be heading? Something to think about. Thanks for bringing us these sources for the deep dive today.